guys, welcome back to Markham Park. We're here for another test ride, and today we're going to be test riding the Mach 429 trail from Pivot. I've been wanting to get my hands on this bike for quite a while, since I have read nothing but great things about it, and now I'm getting a chance to test it out in the 27.5 plus setup. So it has 3-inch tires front and rear. This one is actually a pretty short travel bike. It has 116 in the rear and 130 in the front, but it doesn't really feel like it. For some reason, it feels quite similar travel to the 140mm Giant Transit I'm used to riding. It's my first time riding a 27.5 plus bike, and I was expecting it to be a lot slower than it is actually. I think it's turning out to be pretty nice, and it rolls very decently. Pretty nice. It really does not feel like it only has 116 in the rear. Big iguana. So it may be the fact that it has plus tires, but I am really liking the suspension, especially when pedaling, because it feels super compliant, and it doesn't feel like a short travel bike at all. This thing just eats the bumps up, and when you get onto pedaling, it really keeps on moving. It's a big climb coming up ahead. As if nothing. It's actually pretty nice. Here we go, back into gun range. Well, that was a breeze. have I mentioned this thing is fast? It is so fast. I mean, it's like you pedal a little bit, it just starts to carry this crazy amount of speed, and it really doesn't want to lose it. I hope the video is able of capturing what I'm saying about the speed on this bike. It just keeps on going. So I don't know if you noticed, but I'm putting a lot more time of the video into the climbs than I usually do. And that's because I think this is where the bike excels. Up until now, I think it's one of those bikes where if you're willing to trade off a tiny, and I mean tiny, bit of a downhill confidence for a lot of pedaling efficiency, this may be the bike for you. Wow, this bike makes it seem easy. See there, it's not the best I've ever ridden. So I'm gonna rephrase my appreciation of the bike. This may be the best trail bike I've ever ridden, but you have to be clear that it's a trail bike and not like a enduro / all mountain rig. So if you prefer a great all-arounder, this is it. If you want a little more downhill aggressive capability, then this is probably not the bike for you. I actually just finished this feature today, so we're probably one of the first ones riding it. I'm surprised it was open. Nice. That is sweet. Those guys built that right back up in about 2 days of work, so kudos to them. Holy shit, that's a lot of grip. See, there's some bikes where I don't feel the need to touch the brakes there. With this one, I do. Thank you. Same as last time, I think the skinny is a good chance to say goodbye and end the video. On a personal note, I'm getting better at skinnies, which is awesome for me because I used to be terrified of this, and now I can more or less do it without shitting myself. Well guys, that's actually it for riding for today. If you want to stick around to hear me blabber about the bike a little bit, I'll be doing that. If you're just here for the riding, this is it. So if you're new to the channel, thanks for checking it out. And if you're a returning subscriber, thanks for the support. Okay guys, so that was a test ride on the Pivot Mach 429 in 27.5 plus configuration. To describe this bike in one word, it's fast. And I know that makes no sense at all considering I just said we were running it in a 27.5 plus. But even though it felt so fast, it was amazing. So I think this is a definite trail bike, and that's something you have to keep in mind. I wouldn't buy it just because I'm not a trail bike kind of person. No matter how much I try to convince myself that I need more efficiency here in Florida, I prefer the more flowy enduro type bike with a little bit more suspension travel. But if you're a trail bike kind of person, this is this is the best trail bike I've ever ridden. It's very, very efficient, and it has only 116 millimeters in the rear, but for some reason it really feels like it has around 140. I never bottomed it out, and it does wonders for the efficiency. You could just get the pedaling, and there was absolutely no pedal bob whatsoever. It would just get going. Every time you buy a bike, there's a little bit of a trade-off. You have to choose what you want it to do best. So I think the trade-off here is probably a little bit of confidence going downhill. So when the trail got to the more rowdy stuff and the big rocks and stuff like that, I felt that I was grabbing the brake in places where with other bikes I don't. So I'm not saying that the bike couldn't do it. I'm pretty sure I could have gone just as fast as I usually do and not touch the brake at all. But for some reason, I actually felt like I had to touch the brake. It wasn't that confidence inspiring. And despite the fact that I'm saying that I personally wouldn't buy it, I think it's probably one of the best trail bikes you can buy in Florida. It handled everything here at Markham amazingly well, and it was super efficient in pedaling, which is kind of a hard combo to get. This kind of blends the line between a full-on trail bike and a short, just barely full suspension kind of bike. And if you saw throughout the video, I included a lot more of the climbs than I usually do. Sometimes I focus a lot more on, you know, the stuff that looks a little bit cooler, like going downhill, some of the rocks, some of the bigger features. With this one, I put a lot more of the climbing because I actually feel that that's where the bike actually excels. It goes downhill just as well as most things, but I think that what really stood out about the bike was the way it climbed and the transition from one into the other. And it's worth noting that despite the fact that the suspension had a lock and you could do progressively harder on the compression and all that, I left it wide open for the whole ride. Well guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that one. That was a test ride on the Pivot Mach 429 trail. If you liked it, go ahead and click on like and subscribe, and I will see you for the next one. Happy riding!